and it is on diagrammatic rendering. So we were talking about the concept of diagrammatic drawing a diagram. Why is it important? There is another concept of diagrammatic rendering which is more applicable with the fundus photography, and how we are going to enhance the image quality, as Satyen sir was pointing out. With this technology, there is always a chance of what image we get, we can always enhance it. And finally, attaching the best copy for the patient's reference, because ultimately we want the patient to also benefit. So this objective of this framework for the next few minutes, what is diagrammatic rendering? And I'm basically a glaucoma person, but this is slightly a general topic as to practice pattern point of view. The multimodal imaging approach, why is it not just Technicolor? And then we also have done a study on the image quality assessment on fundus images. And can the traditional 90-day examination be replaced is a food for thought question that I'm just placing it for discussion for the elite panel of Satyen sir and Moideen sir after the talk. And image quality enhancement, and finally attaching the best copy. So diagrammatic rendering, it has three components: the image acquisition, the image processing, and the image documentation. So being a slit lamp biomicroscopy user, these three parts of the diagrammatic rendering, the acquisition part with a 90D, processing is a mental processing because it will vary from person to person, and the documentation is a drawing. Again, you need to draw it. Whereas with fundus photography, the main part of it is it's an automatic one. Some people will be having a semi-automatic one, but the processing and documentation part is automatic. Whereas the acquisition part alone may involve a manual parameter. As we again and again keep on coming back to this slide, the Beckers and Schaeffer's progression of glaucoma from 6 months apart, and how a clinical drawing itself can pick up the progression. The most important is the tools that he has given us. The circular tool, which is divided into 25 quadrants, as you can see here. So we, in our artificial intelligence technology tool, we thought of incorporating this particular tool where we can divide the disc into 25 parts, so that we can easily access the progression, because during the follow we can make note of all the 25 aspects. So for example, on the right hand side, you can see this particular vessel again, which has gone in deeper into the cup. So that is how we can pick up the changes very easily by dividing the disc into 25 parts and applying these tools on the particular optic nerve disc. So that is one part of how we are taking the concept from the diagrammatic drawing, and we can apply the same in fundus photography evaluation too, as given by Beckers and Schaeffer's. But diagrammatic rendering, as you can see, clinical drawing has its own advantages. It gives the clinician a good concentration. It serves as an incentive for him, because if he draws a good diagram, it will always serve him better in the future, because he can always go back and refer, because the diagram is as good as it is photographed. Still, it has a role to play, but is it really going to help us is another point that we are trying to emphasize here, because for a high volume practice, or sometimes it's a concentration element, and there is also a chance of intra-observer variability between two persons drawing the same picture. That is where the fundus photograph has come leap and bounds, and not just a drawing. With fundus photograph, we have the multimodal approach. So this multimodal approach is another approach as a general ophthalmologist point of view, or being a posterior segment personnel. So this is another paper of ours in the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology, where you can see that we can have a mosaic image, we can have a zoomed examination of the particular disc, and we can also do the fundus autofluorescence images and infrared images too. You always have the luxury of doing something more with the fundus photograph, which will actually help you not just to approach multimodal, but it gives you some more data, which is important to diagnose that particular pathology too. And this is another case of visual retinal fireworks, as we would love to call this image in the IJO, afflict retina syndrome. As you can see, more than the color fundus photograph, we also have the additive luxury of using a fundus autofluorescence and an infrared reflectance image. So it makes our job even more simpler. Some pathologies can be picked up much better with other tools too, or it can be picked up with color fundus, but with other images like fundus autofluorescence and infrared image, it makes as a clinician our job even more exciting and thrilling. And to have the current relevance, as I was just giving a teaser in my last talk, when COVID happened. So this was one of the common problems that we were facing. How do we go about using the 90D examination? And there are a lot of difficulty with the visualization due to the shields and multiple problems. with the aerosol mediated infection, because as Shweta pointed out, you do a direct ophthalmoscope or you use a 90D, there is always a chance that we may also get infected. This is also another possibility. So what we did was we converted the waiting area into an area where we can bring all the instruments under a common roof to at least to reduce. So this is a waiting area which was reduced, which was changed into a patient cubicle, so that we can reduce the patient movement inside the hospital premises. Every one of you will be having your own strategy after COVID, the first wave, second wave. So this is one strategy of ours where we brought in all our modalities, and as you can see the slit lamp here and the fundus photograph here. We made sure we placed the slit lamp and fundus photograph side by side and brought in all the machinery that is needed for an eclectic setup. And the upper part, you can see the opening here where we can place the headrest or the chin rest. And the lower section of the cubicle, we provided a leg rest so that the patient is comfortable and the ease of examination is there while performing the fundus photograph. And as we already saw, the positioning, as you can see, this is what I'm just sharing a part of my practice. This is not the only way. This is just another way which may feel suitable for the participants who are just seeing this. The slit lamp and the fundus camera can be placed side by side. You can take a wire and you can connect it to your PC desktop, and even you can see the cup here, the zoomed examination, which is very easy for you. So I'm just sharing an unedited video of one of our patients. As you can see, the pupil is not dilated. The patient is undergoing examination with the EDON True Color Confocal Scanner. I have not fast forwarded the video. This is a normal unedited video. As you can see here, the patient is a slightly uncooperative patient, but still there is an internal focusing target. The machine tries to have some difficulty while capturing the right eye, but still it ends up capturing the right eye maximum 30 to 45 seconds. That's the amount of time that takes. So the right eye is still being captured. Automatic alignment and focus is being done, as you can see in this video. As you can see, the patient is also slightly seeing towards me when I'm trying to take the video. So the machine is having some difficulty. But I wanted this to be shown because even with a very slightly uncooperative patient too, maximum it takes is only 45 seconds per eye. And if it's a good cooperative patient, within a minute or sometimes even 45 seconds, you will be able to get both the eye images. Now I have fast forwarded the video. The patient is coming to me to have the examination. The fundus has been taken. So now a short history and anti-segment examination can be taken, and a 90 diopter examination can be avoided in view of the risk of contact with the patient's face mask or an inadvertent face mask touch. And the right eye and left eye images are beautifully available for you to have a good view of 60-degree single focus. A simultaneous comparative examination can be done. So definitely we have to validate something that we need to do, and that is where we evaluated the quality of non-mydriatic fundus images obtained with the non-contact True Color Confocal Scanner. This was something that we did in the third phase of nationwide lockdown. Article is now published in the Kerala Journal of Ophthalmology, where we had 831 consecutive patients, 1,662 eyes were taken from May 5 to 17. 123 eyes were not able to be done due to logistic reasons. Only 1,539 eyes were included in the study. And the 123 eyes which were avoided were because of ACCO, foreign body, that is acute cataract conjunctivitis, hordeolum, allergic conjunctivitis, blepharitis, and so on. So those patients were excluded, and then we took the remaining eyes into the study and we graded the image based on illumination, good focus, absence of any white noise, dark noise, and the image acquisition signals influenced by pupil size and media opacities like cataract. The grading was done by a team of 2 doctors, one glaucoma specialist and one retina specialist, and they were classified into excellent, fair, adequate, and inadequate. And it was classified as an excellent image if there was no black noise or no white noise. So that is the excellent image, as you can see on the top. Then a fair quality image was graded if there was 25 to 75% of the image had a white noise or black noise, but still you are able to pick up the major diagnostic features such as the optic nerve or macula. It was classified as fair. Less than 25%, it was classified as adequate. And then the inadequate image was something that it was totally washed out either by black or white, or you are not able to make up the diagnosis from seeing that image. So I just wanted to focus on this red box, which I have highlighted in the black arrow. 69.51 we had excellent, that is 70%, we had an excellent amount of image. 17.36 we had a fair quality image, and 8.89 we still had adequate images. Only for 4.24 we were not able to make the diagnosis. That is more than 95% of the eyes we were able to make the diagnosis with the image alone. And we also had a comparison with the pupil size, because since we are going with a non-mydriatic one, and that was also something that we also anticipated and expected. In the adequate category, that is excellent category, we had a pupil size of 3.26, whereas in the fair category we had 2.81. It was slightly lesser. And in the adequate category, we had only 2.73. So as the pupil size decreases, there is some challenge in getting a good image. But still, there is a way you can enhance the image quality, which I will be showing you later. So the pupil size, as you can see in this red box here, it was higher in the excellent group, and it was getting lower and lower as we go to the fair and adequate group. I'm not going into the details of other data, just one that I want to be emphasized. And as we saw previously, 129 eyes, we cannot get an image at all. That was either because of the pupil or it was because of the mature cataract. In 24% of the people, it was because of pupil. In 76% of the people, it was because of the cataractous nature, as there was a surge of mature cataract cases, especially after the first lockdown, the third phase of the first lockdown. The remaining 1,410 images, we had 1,236 eyes which were normal funduses, and 174 eyes were pathological. So 12% of the data were pathological. And then we saw, okay, how much of new diagnosis were we able to pick up with pathology? Yeah, I'm just winding up. So in that, if you see, 29% had NPDR, 12% already were on glaucoma and on treatment, 11% had ARMD, 9% were PDR already treated with PRP. But the main thing is the 5% and 6%. 6% of them were newly diagnosed with glaucoma, and the 5% of them were newly diagnosed PDR. So still it made a huge game-changing impact. Going only with a fundus photograph, we are able to pick up new diagnoses such as glaucoma and PDR. And this is an article in Kerala Journal of Ophthalmology. And as Satyan sir was pointing out, there are a lot of filters. Even if you have a slightly poor quality image as like this image, you can always zoom the image, and then you can use a filter and enhance the quality of image, and you can assess the visual prognosis of the bilateral cataract that this patient has. Somehow on the left eye, if you see, the patient tends to have a laminar dot sign, it is picked up, and there is also an elongated vertical cupping, which is a glaucomatous in nature. So the patient can be clearly counseled that what to expect after a cataract surgery, and there is no surprise for the surgeon who is going to perform it. So it is as good as this, the confocal imaging. Last but not least, I was lucky to be a part of this app, which courtesy of Dr. Satyan sir, where we were able to attach the patient details in a soft copy manner for Android users or smartphone users, the eye drop reminder light. So where the patient will have the best copy with them for future reference. If you are able to give them the soft copy, you're going to do a good thing to the patient. Even if the patient is going to lose his follow-up and he goes to abroad or he's going to travel somewhere else, he always has a soft copy which can be zoomed and evaluated. But if you give a printout, there is always a chance that the printout can be tampered or it can be lost, or there are a lot of artifacts crushing the printouts. Sometimes the patient takes a file but the printouts are all crushed up. So again, the reference for this is, please do see this article, the participants who are attending this. We have done a lot of data, myself and Satyan sir, we have published a lot of data on this particular aspect of fundus imaging, how you can maximize the use of fundus imaging. And last but not least, I again give it food for thought for the panel for the discussion at the end. 90D, there is always an inadvertent face mask touch, whereas when you go with the fundus, you will be having your own physical barrier, but you can use it to the maximum. So is it the right way to move forward, especially during the time of this pandemic? I feel so. I think we'll be having an enlightening discussion at the end. Again, I would like to thank my mentor, Dr. Satyan Parthasarathy sir, for introducing me to this new world of fundus imaging. Thank you, sir.